doing? I hope you are well. Let me sort my audio and my camera. There we go. That is better. Hello, everyone. I hope you are well today. This is my daily live stream that happens weekdays at 11 a.m. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching on the replay, give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you are here. And if you are joining live, please do say hello in the comments. Please let me know that you are tuning in today. I would love to know that so that I can come around and say hello back to you. So do let me know. I'm just making sure that I can see all comments from all areas because we are live on multiple channels here at the same time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, everybody. Hello. I do appreciate that. For those of you that are new to me, my name is Annette Ferguson. I'm CEO of Annette & Co, UK-based accounting firm. I'm a chartered accountant and certified Profit First professional, and I help business owners take home more money from their businesses for them and their families to enjoy. Of course, at the moment, there are some challenges around that, and that is one big reason why I want to help you and support you with these sessions, both at the moment and, of course, beyond. So thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate that. Absolutely 100% appreciate it. So I have a number of points once again to cover today all around coronavirus in the UK. Hello, Charles. Good morning. I can also see somebody else is saying good morning to me, but I cannot see your name. What is going on here? My screen is being slow to load. But whoever that is, good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I'm going to start today by speaking about the bounce back loan scheme and what is happening with that. So we heard on day one of the bounce back loans, over 2 billion pounds worth of lending was agreed on the very first day, which is an absolutely incredible amount of lending. In reality, huge amount. And yes, we have also heard, interestingly, some people who have been denied a bounce back loan. So we, of course, don't know the reasons that some people have been denied the loans. You know, what they're really not really given very many reasons. Perhaps they ticked something funny in boxes. But this is a big surprise because, of course, there's no credit check or anything like that. So the assumption would be that everyone who applied would have been granted it, but clearly that's not the case. Clearly, there are some things happening that we are perhaps unaware of. That is meaning that not everyone is actually being granted these bounce back loans, and some people are actually being refused them. So very interesting to hear that. Good morning, Craig. I hope you are well. Thank you for saying hello, and thank you for joining me. I do appreciate that. So very interesting there with the bounce back loans. Something else we are hearing is that the government have decided to delay the overhaul of business rates. That means that many businesses already struggling will have another year of what is being termed elevated bills. So there was a reset due to happen next year in England. Business rates, incidentally, are typically reevaluated every 5 years. So one was due to happen next year in England. That has now been pushed back to 2020. So many groups are annoyed by that because it means that they perceive that their bills will be higher for longer than they should be. That is the perception on that one. So that's going to cause businesses who are potentially already struggling quite substantially with this situation a bit more problems as we go into a recession after we come out of the coronavirus situation. The Bank of England are warning, now speaking of recessions, the Bank of England are warning of a 30% crunch in the UK economy. This figure keeps rising. So initially, a few weeks ago, we heard something around a 14% number. A couple of weeks ago, we heard something around a 24% number. Now it's going up to 30%. So, clearly this is going to have a big, big impact on the economy and a recession after it as well. And, the data and the numbers that in the research are showing that is going to be the case. It's going to cause a lot of issues. It's saying that unemployment is likely to increase by 9%, even with the job retention scheme in place. And we are going to see higher jobless rates than in 2008, 2009, post-financial crisis. So higher jobless rates than in 08, 09, post the financial crisis. So that is, that's going to be incredibly difficult for many, many households. It's going to impact all areas. It's going to impact spending. So that is something to be aware of as well. Stress tests were done to see if the economy could cope with this unexpected, what they are calling once in a century style recession. That for me gives some pretty severe warning bells, because once in a century to me sounds like a depression. It doesn't necessarily sound like your sort of bog standard recession. Typically, we have recessions every 8 to 10 years historically, but the Bank of England are calling it a once in a century recession. They have concluded that the systems can cope with it. The banking system in particular can cope with that level of stress put on it. Of course, time will tell on that, and we very much hope that it can. But I think that needs to be a clear warning to people that this is not going to be any old recession. We are expecting this to be incredibly severe and impact all areas. So when you are thinking about your business, when you are thinking about the strategy that you want to employ, when you are thinking about when we come out of this and what you might do around that, please be aware that is the situation we're going to be sitting in. That is where we are headed, and you need to make decisions based off of that. Now, you can potentially look at your industry and how it performed in previous recessions, of course, but this is being called a once-in-a-century recession. Therefore, we can expect it to be longer and deeper than previous recessions in our lifetimes. So please be aware of that as you are making decisions around your business as we are going into that situation. With most recessions, there is a tail off into that. We have basically gone crashing headfirst into this as a result of lockdown happening. Of course, it was the right thing to do from a health perspective, but of course, it also has economic impact. I am not saying that we shouldn't have done it. I absolutely believe we should, and I absolutely believe that health is the most important thing, but it has given a huge, huge strain on the economy, which will be felt for a long time afterwards as well. If you do have any questions whilst I am on, please do let me know in the comments. I will, of course, answer those. If you are watching the replay and have questions, please do also let me know. I can come back and answer those at a later date. So please do let me know as well. If you are hopping on live, please do say hello. It is always nicer when people do say hello who are watching live, because it just makes me feel like I'm not just speaking to my camera so much. It's nice to be able to interact with you and have a chat. So please do let me know. If you are watching live, please give me a hello in the comments as well. And if you get value from what I share, I would massively, massively appreciate if you want to share this stream out to other people, to your friends, to your followers, to your likers, to your fans, whichever platform you are on. I would massively, massively appreciate you sharing this out as well. Cartman, thank you so much. I massively appreciate the kind words. They mean a lot to me, so thank you. I do appreciate that. So what else do we have here today? Business groups are warning Boris that millions of British workers will be at risk of redundancy if the government withdraws furlough. This is something we've been seeing a lot over the last few days, is many different groups coming together and saying, we need to do something about the end of furlough. What happens? At the moment, we've been told it ends at the end of June. And we know that Rishi, the Chancellor, has said there will be no sudden cliff drop off, but they are still examining ways to actually come out of that. The business groups are saying that there will be 6 million jobs overall at risk from the end of furlough, 2 million of those in the hospitality sector alone. There are some there's some further issues with that, which I'm going to speak about shortly as well, in terms of reopening and what that looks like for various sectors as well. So I will speak about that shortly too, linking back to this jobless number potentially. We have been hearing for a few weeks now that those people on furlough are potentially the hidden unemployed, and what that actually means in reality for jobless numbers, for unemployment numbers, and for pressures on the benefit system as well, as and when that may kick in. So linked to that, Boris has said he's planning to set out on Sunday how businesses will start to return to work over the coming weeks, but there has been some preliminary information that's come out that says, of course, social distancing measures will have to be in place in the workplace, and people should be avoiding face-to-face meetings. We're hearing barely half of businesses could operate at pre-crisis levels with social distancing in place. And some, it may not be worth opening at all. This links me back to that hospitality sector point, because many businesses, if they open, they are not going to be able to open profitably. And actually, their costs may be higher opening than were they to stay closed completely. So this is going to be an incredibly difficult balance for many, many businesses in a number of sectors between, is it worth opening or not worth opening? Because if they have to open with social distancing measures in place, then it may not be possible for them to actually run a business at even break even, let alone a profit. And therefore, is it actually more cost effective to keep the business closed at this time, even if there's perhaps no financial support available, which would of course then mean things like staff redundancies. So this is a real issue that is that's coming our way, basically. And then also bearing in mind that as we reopen, as I said, we'll be in a recession, heading potentially to a depression as well. And what does that mean for business? Is that then going to impact as well in terms of the footfall, in terms of the turnover that businesses can make? And again, is that going to therefore mean that they are better off staying closed? There's also a number of businesses incredibly worried about the legal health and safety ramifications of this, because we heard a few days ago things like coronavirus risk assessments having to be made. But the question comes back to, what happens if you open your workplace, one of your members of staff gets ill, or worse, perhaps even dies as a result of contracting coronavirus in your workplace? What happens then? Is the company liable? What is the situation with that? So that is something that is, incredibly worrying also for a number of business owners, that legal aspect to it that needs to be worked out and examined. We heard yesterday, I was saying that the business secretary has called for some stricter legal guidelines on this and what that would actually mean. And it feels like it would have to be set out in law so that everyone understands what their obligations are and where their risks are lying as well. Thank you so much, Tia Grace. I really appreciate your kind words, and I appreciate you joining me. So thank you so much for that. And thank you to everyone who is tuning in. I do appreciate you hopping on. This is our UK business and coronavirus update. Happens weekdays at 11 a.m. on whichever channel you are watching this on. So thank you for tuning in and joining me. Any questions that you have along the way, please do ask in the comments. I am more than happy to answer any of those questions as well. We've heard that Shopify shares have hit a record high as more retailers are forced online. Amy Shapiro, who is the CFO of Shopify, said that they are seeing a shift from offline to online commerce accelerating. Of course, because many offline businesses cannot operate now, so are moving their production, or rather their sales, are moving their sales to an online platform to try and generate revenue. So, interesting but not surprising there from Shopify hitting a record with their share price as a result of businesses moving online more. The Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, the CBILS loans as they are called, has approved a number of new lenders now as well. So if you are looking for lending over £50,000, it is that route that you would go down for your government-backed loans. The CBILS loans, of course, are 80% government-backed, unlike the bounce-back loans, which are 100%, but the bounce-back loans maximum lending is £50,000, whereas the CBILS loans are above that level. So if you are requiring lending above the £50,000 mark, then it is the CBILS loan that you are going to want to be looking at. As I say, they have just approved a number of new lenders into that as well, including Investex, Fleximize, Atom Bank, so some fintechs and things coming through there as well. So it's worth checking that out if you are wanting a CBILS loan to see if one of your banks or lenders has recently been approved on that. There are a few others on that list as well. So that is important to look at. Let me just see if I have any questions. As yet, I cannot see any there. And let me just check these other streams to make sure. If you have any questions, please do let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to answer those. So please do let me know if you have any questions at all. I will answer those questions for you. So we are also hearing that most small businesses have said that they need less than 1 week notice to restart operations, that they are ready to restart. That comes from the British Chamber of Commerce. They are also saying that just 3% of small firms say they need 3 weeks or more to be able to restart business. However, half are saying they cannot operate viably at pre-lockdown levels with social distancing in place. So we hear again that there is going to be a big continuing impact on businesses as a result of the social distancing measures. Now, I absolutely do believe they are the correct thing to do, but they are going to impact business, and we need to be aware of that. We need to understand that, and we need to see if we can have a strategy to deal with that as a business owner as well. So that's half saying that they cannot operate viably at pre-lockdown levels with social distancing in place. Hiring has fallen at its fastest rate in 22 years. We're also seeing a drop in overall vacancies available, an increase in people signing up for universal credit, a potentially massive spike in unemployment, and of course, we've got some new young people entering the workforce for the first time as well, either finishing school coming up or finishing university and going into a situation where the job market is very, very unknown. There's a lot of hiring freezes and redundancies about to happen as well. So hiring is not high on the list of agenda for many, many businesses. And therefore, this is all going to put a big strain on the system for that as well. A worrying time if you are in that bucket, absolutely. What else do we have today? We have calls for retail rents to be linked to takings. Now, this is an incredibly interesting one because this is common in the US to have the rent for retail units linked to takings of a business. We don't see that in the UK at all. And so it's really interesting. It's a really interesting model, and it's been called turnover rent. So if you had turnover rent just now and you had no turnover, presumably you'd be paying no rent, or you may have a small kind of minimum balance to pay. As I said, this is common in the US, but we just don't have that in the UK. So it's an interesting thing that is being proposed for retail rents. So it's a little bit of watch this space on that to see what happens and see if landlords pick up on this and they want to go ahead with this model. I certainly haven't heard of any UK landlords having this model, but if you do know one, or if you are a retail landlord that has this model, I would love to hear from you and hear your perspective on running this model in your business, because that would be incredibly interesting for everyone, I am sure. But as I say, not put in place yet in the UK, but an interesting one nonetheless. Let's see. Have I covered everything that I wanted to share with you today? I believe that I have done. Any questions, do let me know in the comments. You are very, very quiet today. It's very interesting how some days there is lots of noise in the chat and other days very, very little. Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I also really appreciate all the follows. I can see people following me. I can see people liking pages and all that kind of stuff. I do very much appreciate that. So thank you for doing that. I do appreciate it. I massively appreciate when you share out this broadcast so that other people can benefit from it as well. It means a huge amount to me. So thank you for all that stuff. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the love. All that kind of thing means a massive, massive amount to me. So I do appreciate it. And I thank you very, very much for it. So let me just check to see if we've got any last questions coming through from anywhere before I sign off. Now, remember, I am back every day at 11 a.m. UK, covering our, every weekday rather, at 11 a.m. UK, covering UK business and coronavirus updates. We speak about the government, the banks, the legislation, the economy, all those things that are affecting UK businesses. So do pop that in your diary. Do make sure you tune in. I will be back tomorrow for another episode at exactly the same time at 11 a.m. on whichever channel you are watching this on. So I will be there. I will also be hanging out a lot in the Uncover Wealth community. That is where I announce things as they happen. So as soon as I hear any updates, they go into the Uncover Wealth community. So I would love if you want to join me in there. It is my community on Facebook. It is completely free to join. All you need to do is head over to Facebook and type Uncover Wealth Community in the search bar, and you can join me there as well. I would love to have you there. I would love to extend that invite to you. So please, please do come and join me there as well. Farm Fit Fun, you are absolutely welcome. No problem at all. So I think that is all that we have for today. Thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate your time as always, and I hope that it has been useful for you to spend some of it with me here today. As I said, I will see you again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Same time, same place. Until then, have a great day, and we'll speak soon. Take